evening, everyone. Welcome to this public meeting of the City Council of Dieppe of July 13th, 2015. I would like to take this opportunity to welcome Stéphane Simard, our new municipal secretary. Welcome to Dieppe. For our opening word, colleagues, grant us the serenity to accept the things that cannot change, the courage to change things that can, and the wisdom to know the difference. To the call to order, there's a confirmation of quorum and conflicts of interest. Are there any? None. Then we'll adopt the agenda proposed by Councillor Thibodeau, seconded by Councillor Cormier. Any questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary-minded, nay. The agenda is adopted as presented. The next item is presentations, inquiries, and petitions. 7.1, inquiries by council members to Kodiak Regional RCMP. Mr. Beauchesne, good evening and welcome to this meeting. This is a summer meeting. I hope that you take advantage of this summer and walk through our trails this summer. Yes, of course. I'm just teasing because we met each other on the trail last night. Councillor Thibodeau, any questions? It's not really a question. It's a comment. Some citizens have approached me to tell me that there are accidents at the corner of Champlain and Dieppe Boulevard. And they tell me that the cars are driving too quickly. Perhaps we could keep an eye on that corner. Last week there was an accident. It was a motorcycle with a car. And the driver of the motorcycle was caught under the car, and it took a while before they could remove him. I would like that corner to be watched a little bit more. I'll take note of that, and I think Mr. Bellevaux and Jimmy George were trying to do some prevention and send the message across. We're in the summer, and we know that there's a greater population in Moncton, Dieppe, and Riverview. We're doing our possible. I would ask you as well, if citizens call you directly, invite them to call them. With this information, as I had a conversation with Mr. Cormier, we can do an analysis and try to coordinate the timing of the day and to coordinate this. So I'll take note of that. Thank you, Councillor Bellevaux. On the subject of speed, I sometimes see that when I'm on Emilio Street in the construction zone, cars are going faster than 30 kilometers per hour. I think the city should post signs there to remind the drivers what the speed is. I'm concerned about this for the workers that are posted there trying to do the work. So I think it would be a good idea to keep an eye on this area as well, so that people would drive less quickly. Of course, in construction areas, the fees are doubled. If it happens 3 or 4 times, people might mention it. Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you. Are there any other comments or questions? No. Then you have the rest of the evening off. Have a good evening, and we'll see you next time. Are there any public presentations for the municipal plan revision project? Mr. Vanet and Mr. Girard, good evening. Thank you, Your Worship. This evening, we will start officially the revision of the municipal plan, the municipal development plan, and then we'll have public meetings as well for the zoning bylaw. This document, we've been working on it for about 2 years now. For the presentation tonight, we will begin by saying what is a municipal development plan, and this evening we're going to talk only about the municipal plan. It must contain a municipal plan, the vision for the range of plans that we are having and changes in the plan. So what is it? It's the main document for the main city of Dieppe. It would be for a 20-year period, but with a revision every 10 years. It's a bylaw. It's a bylaw that will be changed over the years. The municipal plan over the years has 96 pages. Why do we have a plan? Why is a plan important for the municipality? Because it's the basis for every other document. When we speak of town planning, we talk about development and the zoning bylaw as well, but there are other documents as well, which would be subdivision agreements as well. This is the principal document for rezoning. With respect to the Municipal Act, municipal plan has to contain the use of lands within the municipality, conservation, improvement of the natural environment, and principles against all forms of pollution, and improving of communication networks and transportation services, and the reserve of lands for municipal use and creation of services and municipal equipment. The range of the municipal plan for this time, we have 10 aspects as follows: to have a safe and sustainable community, create compact communities, have a system of transportation which is integrated, and excellent parks and trails, needs with respect to housing and for the residents, promote a downtown which is dynamic, improve the environment, protect the lands, and work in favor of the economic growth and sustainability, as well as heritage and culture, Acadian culture. This is founded on the principles of a sustainable plan. As you see, it's not only for the present generations, but also for future generations. We have 4 themes in the development. We want the participation of the citizens, there's economic and social aspects, and the environment. As far as participation of the public for the municipal plan, we have different exercises we want to put into place. For example, clouds. We have clouds here at City Hall, and as well in the aquatic centers. So we were asking people what they want Dieppe to look like in the next few years. As well, Dieppe in one word. We had a survey on the web and an exercise called Imagine Dieppe for the vision. It was at the entrance of City Hall. On the social aspect for the city of Dieppe, with respect to the municipal plan, we encourage with related documents services for the community and many services that contribute to the municipality. In 2015, we had a budget of $1.4 million with grants and monies coming from other programs as well. As an example, we have a total of 54 programs and services offered in the community in 4 major sectors. The first being community development, events and culture, heritage, and family. So these are the main sectors for our events. With respect to the environment, as you know, the city of Dieppe has a philosophy with respect to environment. It's defined the balance of natural areas without compromising the services for the residents. We have 440 hectares, 30 games lots. We have 5 parks, 20 neighborhood parks, and lots of trails on 38 kilometers. With the master plan for the green spaces and community services, the city wants to develop 18 hectares for community parks, 7 neighborhood parks or natural parks for a total of 10.5 hectares, and 18 hectares of trails in the future, and any other needs that would account for 10 hectares. Other needs could be lots for soccer, ball, or spaces for future arenas. We could incorporate that into the future needs. As well as you know, the municipality has other initiatives, green initiatives within the municipality. We have a program of forestry, urban forest. We had about 1,000 trees planted on properties in the municipality. We also recognize agriculture, urban agriculture within this municipal plan here in Dieppe and all the zones, be it residential, commercial, industrial, or other. We allow community gardens on vacant lands or land that has not been developed. Also, we have a farmer's market here downtown, and it allows the growers in the region to sell their products, and it creates a social interaction within the residents as well. We also have a control of mechanical systems in the buildings, and since it has been put into place, we have saved $80,000, and we participate with NB Power to use renewable energy produced by wind turbines. We also have standards lead in our municipal buildings, and we work with the engineering department. And we have reached zero net in all our new developments within the municipality.
Now, in terms of the last section of sustainable development would be the economy. In order to sustain growth over the next few years and to attract and retain people here, and our investments in commercial and residential and industrial buildings, the municipal plan has four major sections. The first one would be to promote the city of Dieppe as a center for urban development, to create a strong, diversified, and sustainable economy within the different target sectors, to broaden the potential of growth of the city in order to offer the residents of Dieppe an excellent quality of life, and to develop and maintain regional partnerships for economic development. And I'm now going to give the floor to my colleague, Alex. So what are the changes being proposed for between the municipal plan of 2008 and the one being proposed here today? Well, we're proposing to highlight all of the associated documents that have been developed, including the master plan, the trails plan, the Transportation 2040 plan, the policy, the cultural policy, as well as the heritage policy. A lot of work has been done between 2008 and 2015, and so we wanted to include all of these documents within the municipal plan. We also want to simplify the preamble. There was a lot of information that was redundant within the municipal plan. Now we have to refer to the preliminary section just to get all of that information. So every other declaration is going to be either an orientation, an objective, a principle, or a proposal in order to make the reading of the plan easier. And when we come to before you for rezoning, for example, it'll be much easier to identify where it is situated. We've also added maps to the municipal plan to show the location of the different residential, commercial, industrial sectors, as well as the downtown area. We've also included new planning themes, such as the new trends and tendency. We talked today a lot about climate change. We wanted to include changes related to that theme. A lot of work has been done in the last few years in that sense. We've also worked heavily in the development of healthy communities, active transportation, and so on. And we wanted to make sure all of these themes came out within the municipal plan. There was also an updating of certain sections or certain parts of it based on new data following studies done between 2008 and 2015. The land use map here that you can see on the screen, I'm sure you're familiar with it already, but when we talk of rezoning, then this is the map that we use. It's the main map used for planning purposes. We wanted to simplify it, however. We wanted to regroup certain residential areas in order to simplify the reading of the plan, to simplify the use of the map, and also to simplify any future rezoning processes. And it will also simplify the interpretation of any of these issues. And I'll give you a little more detail on each one of these sectors, the residential, commercial, industrial, to show what we are suggesting more specifically. So here on the screen, you can see the residential sectors in yellow. So we're trying to really better control residential development within these sectors. We're talking about developing mixed density, family density use along different streets. We want to also stabilize residential neighborhoods and make sure we try and avoid any nuisances due to certain other sectors. In the commercial sector, of course, there are certain sectors are commercial. Everybody's familiar with Champlain Place, Dieppe Boulevard, that is in full growth. The municipal plan wants to frame the diverse commercial development. And the same goes for the industrial sector. We have an industrial park, we have the business park. Here you can see the industrial sector around the airport, and you can see aviation road that has industrial development along it. So the municipal plan wants to make sure that everything is framed and defined and controlled in the industrial sectors to make sure that the use is compatible with neighboring uses. We don't want to compete with the airport, for example, and we don't want the industrial sector to cause any nuisance to their neighbors as well. So the objective here is to make sure that the development is well planned. Here in blue, you can see the community sectors. They're located, strategically located throughout the municipality. And we want to, this includes the development of parks, school areas. These are strategically located areas within the municipality for community use. Now the downtown area, well, as you can see here on this map, we want to also define the density and the intensity of use. Perhaps in this area, buildings could be a little higher than in other areas of the town. We want to encourage a mixed use here as well. Now, there is also the conservation and ecological interest areas. We want to maintain the environmental characteristics of these areas, including the Chartersville Marsh, the different creeks, and we want to work in cooperation with the different stakeholders, including the Department of the Environment, to protect these areas. So there are different proposals, different principles included to maintain and protect these areas. Now, in terms of the land reserve areas, it's what we used to call the rural area, but now we call it the land reserve area, because that's exactly what it is. It's land that is reserved for future development, for future generations. And so it's important to realize that once the municipality has reached that point in terms of the services, financially, it might make sense to develop these areas. This is where we would be able to present amendments to the plan, to the zoning, to encourage a different density of commercial and residential use. Now, what do we propose as a timeline? Well, on June 22nd, as you know, we heard a resolution to start the legal process. And on July 2nd, the first notice was printed in the papers indicating this evening's public presentation. Today, July 13th, we are in the public presentation. We are explaining the changes that will be brought to the municipal plan. The dates that are important to note are 19th of August, that'll be the meeting of the PAC, the Planning Advisory Committee. That's where they're going to discuss the changes being proposed. On September 14th, we will have a public hearing on the changes proposed, and we will see what the formal recommendation of the PAC will be. And on October 12th, Council will be able to vote on this proposal in first and second readings. Oh, yes, as well, citizens and residents or business people, starting today and for 30 days starting today, will have the opportunity to send us their written feedback on what's being proposed. And the bylaw itself, as well as the land use map, is available on the website, as well as at the planning services if anybody wants to have a look at it. And we can receive comments for the next 30 days. Thank you. And I presume that there are already some notices that are ready to be printed in the papers to inform citizens that they have 30 days for written comments? The 30-day period? Well, we never published the 30-day period, but on July 2nd, we had a first notice printed in the paper indicating that there was going to be a public presentation today. Some people have already come to consult us. So, I mean, people have seen the papers, have seen the notice, but the 30-day period does start this evening for written comments. Thank you. Any questions from councillors? Councillor Béliveau. Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, Your Worship. On that, I think the municipality should play an active role to remind people that if they have comments or suggestions and if they any information to give us, this would be the time to do it. I would also like to make another point. It was written, I mean, we saw the downtown center, but I've noticed the absence of the uptown center. Will that be one of the priorities that the town is going to continue the uptown development? So I'm just asking that this evening to see if it's something that will be added to the plan, municipal plan, or have we chosen not to include it? I think they're preparing an answer. No, I just want to make sure, well, at no time do we promote one sector instead of another, but the downtown sector was in the 2008 plan, and the uptown center on the land use map was not clearly defined per se. But the uptown center, well, there's a lot of different zonage. Some of those areas already zoned integrated development. So that area there are these little mini plans within the municipal plan. So we know that there is development possible there, and I think that my colleague from Expansion Dieppe agrees with me here. This is a sector that is very important. A lot of people are very interested in that sector, but there are fewer lots left for development along Engelhard, along the boulevard. There's been a lot of development over the last few years, but just in the next few months as well, there will be development. Now, and that goes right up to the uptown. Now, it wasn't a specific section that was called uptown, but like on the land use map, when it was clearly developed and indicated that that was a sector that was destined for commercial development. Okay, well, Your Worship, I just want to make sure that we don't forget that section, because it is becoming an opportunity for a number of businesses to look at the potential of setting up shop there. Thank you. Councillor Dallaire. Thank you, Your Worship. There were a couple of things that I had trouble visualizing, a couple of areas where I couldn't see how the municipal plan was going to impact them. Now, a few of my questions were clarified this evening, but I do want to make sure I understand correctly. What you talked about orientation, it's not clear to me how the municipal plan is going to promote Acadian culture and heritage. I know that we're going to integrate existing policies, but could you give me some concrete examples to help me visualize how the municipal plan is going to affect that sector? Yes, if you allow me to respond. Well, in order to promote the heritage and culture, when I talk about adding value or using documents that have already been adopted by the municipalities, such as the heritage policy. So all of these documents are included in the document as part of the document. I can read you an example here. One of the principles, I can read two of them to you. The Principle 34, Council has a principle of protecting areas on its property that represent a historical or architectural value. Now, in the heritage, the council has as a principle to protect, to make aware, and to value the wealth of the heritage of the city of Dieppe by using a policy A35 of the city. Proposal 11, we propose that the city will make sure that A35 will be updated regularly to add as a complement to the municipal plan, and will add to to advise and to sensitize people to the wealth of the Acadian culture and heritage. Okay, well, that's heritage, but do you have examples, specific examples for culture as well, or are they part of heritage? Well, as I mentioned, we put a lot of emphasis on other associated documents that already exist within the municipality. So I don't want to read word for word what the cultural policy is, but we do focus on policy L7, which talks about the cultural policy of the city of Dieppe. And a similar question, I was very happy to see that you really target the different sectors for sustainable development, including the economy. And I thought that this section of the presentation was lacking examples. Some of the aspects were a little easier to understand, but I had questions here to broaden the potential for growth and jobs. I just don't quite understand how the municipal plan will have an impact on jobs. Could you develop that further? Well, in terms of jobs and well, the whole section on the economy, we had to make choices here because we didn't want to talk too long. We had some graphs that were available that we could have presented them or have presented them to council or in different monthly reports. So we could talk about economic development as we talk in the same way as when we present to Expansion Dieppe. But what we're trying to do is to encourage new opportunities by opening up new territories or by making investments in our roads or, for example, in the industrial park. We've seen that there have been some good investments made in the last few years in the development of Aviation Street, and we're just trying to remain proactive to see what we could do in phase 2 and 3 to make sure we're ready to act if all of a sudden an opportunity arises. So we want to focus on certain sectors of the municipality. I mentioned the industrial sector, but the same applies to the downtown sector. In the municipal plan, we're proposing that following its review and following its adoption, we want to lead a process for the an updated vision for the downtown. We have a vision, but it's some years old, and we want to make sure that the vision has remained or if it should be updated. These are all associated and related studies, and all of these are mentioned in the municipal plan as well. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Dallaire. Councillor Thibodeau. Thank you, Your Worship. I have a question. In the municipal plan, are you thinking of leaving extra room for snow removal between townhouses, for example, between row houses? You know what I'm talking about, right? We've had problems with this in the past. Yes? Yes, Mr. Thibodeau. Of course, in the municipal plan, we talk about different sectors where the municipality should identify perhaps a municipal snow dump. We don't have one that's been clearly identified yet. But what you're proposing are changes to these the zoning bylaw. But that's we're going to discuss that at the public hearing in September. So I mean, we're proposing something. We do have something to propose for these row houses, these townhouses. Yes, we do have something, but that will be at the public meeting in September. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Thibodeau. Councillor Godet. Yeah, I was happy to hear the list of certain articles to address the heritage. When I look at page 16, for programs and services, I feel that that sector is rather lean in the statements and the vision that should be developed in the municipality. It's somewhat lacking. And more specifically, I mean the conservation, the preservation, the use of our buildings and historic and heritage buildings and areas. So I would suggest that we try and give this section more meat compared to what we see on the screen right now, in order to include all of these heritage and historical buildings and locations. It would be high time to walk the talk here in Dieppe. We're about to lose 2 or 3 other irreplaceable buildings. Should we just let them disappear, or do we have the courage to do something in order to make use of them? Well, is this a comment or a question?
Take it as you wish, but it's a conviction. The municipal plan identifies the policy, the municipal policy A35, which speaks of heritage, conservation, etc. So the municipal plan does not need the council to meet all the principles that are within it, but there are 183 principles and 87 proposals. But you can identify lines that you can follow to be able to preserve buildings, even visual openings, natural heritage as well. That's within the heritage policy, and we will speak about it eventually. Any other questions or comments? If not, thank you for your presentation, and we will see each other again at the next steps. Point number 7, are there any other presentations, inquiries, or petitions from the public? No. Number 9, adoption of minutes. Moved by Councillor Dallaire, seconded by Councillor Cormier, that we move the minutes of June 22nd for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary-minded, nay. The minutes are adopted. Item number 10, 10.1, buildings. Mr. Relassa. Thank you, Your Worship. Good evening, everyone. With respect to the approval of additional cost, new fire hall construction project on Dieppe Boulevard, we tried to integrate all elements of the project in the envelope that was allowed by the municipal council. We are now asking for $63,000 to be transferred, and the 2 elements are as follows. Firstly, with the delay of the transaction that took place. This took place during the winter in part, so we had additional costs in construction. Secondly, we sent a request to ACM for the fire hall. With respect to energy, we didn't meet the second phase of the project, but the investment isn't negative because we could add more energy-saving elements to the fire hall. So for the investment of $20,000 on a year and a half, we will recuperate it. So if you look at 5 years, there'll be a total. Even before 5 years, we will recuperate it, but we need a transfer to finalize the costs linked to the fire hall. So that's what we're asking for tonight. Thank you for the reading of the resolution. Councillor Nolan. The council authorized additional cost in the amount of $63,000 to the new fire hall construction project budget. The council further authorized a budget transfer in the amount of $63,000 from account number 3335587615 Benjamin Street to account number 3330127601 Satellite Fire Hall. I so move. Moved by Councillor Nolan, seconded by Councillor LeBlanc. For the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary minded, nay. The resolution 10.1.1 is adopted as presented. 10.2, authorization of signature management contract at Dieppe Arts and Cultural Center. There are a few elements that were changed, so we recommend to proceed to signing the document for a term of 5 years. The representative from Arts and Culture is here tonight, so this is to authorize a signature. For the reading of the resolution, Councillor Béliveau. The council accepts the revised management contract between the City of Dieppe and the Dieppe Arts and Cultural Center for a 5-year period from April 1st, 2015 to March 31st, 2020. I so move. Moved by Councillor Béliveau, seconded by Councillor Dallaire. For the question. No questions. Councillor Godette. When I read this text, what struck my attention was the management has a lot of responsibility, personal responsibilities in the execution of his tasks. Eventually, I looked at the original description, and the term manager means the organization of the arts and culture center. In many cases, the manager is responsible to pay insurances, to pay salaries, and to make any repairs, etc. That's asking him a lot for his low salary. If anybody reads this document, you might see that manager represents the corporation. Am I correct? Exactly, Councillor Gadet. Article 1.1c, the definition of manager is the organization of arts and culture. That answers your question? Yes. Councillor Thibodeau. Thank you, Your Worship. What I noticed, there are things here that are clear. At paragraph 12.4 on page 57, it talks about a non-for-profit organization. So is it not-for-profit or is it a profit organization? This is a bit ambiguous. 12.4. It's a non-profit. It was a typo that'll be corrected before signature. And I have another question as well. On page 66, at paragraph 4.1, it states that is responsible for the snow removal and parking lots up to the end of the sidewalk for 3 meters. There's something missing here. Do we need to add and? I don't know what they wanted to say, but it's a bit confusing. It means that the center is responsible from the door to the sidewalk and right up until the municipality's land. Sometimes the French terms and legal terms are a bit different. Up until the end of the sidewalk of the mentioned doors. They're the ports, they're the doors that are mentioned previously. Perhaps we could add and sidewalks. We don't want to spend the evening on that, however. Is that it? Thank you, Your Worship. Anything else, Councillor Godet? One way or another, if they're the sidewalks or the doors that are mentioned, we have to add a ness. So what I see are the doors that are mentioned. There's a typo here in French. Is that it? Thank you. Anything else? A question on this agreement? If not, for the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary minded, nay. The resolution is adopted as presented. 10.2.2, this is land on Chartersville Boulevard for the acquisition of land proposed for a total of $19,000 for PID 703844631. This is for authorization by the council tonight for the acquisition. For the resolution, Councillor Cormier. Thank you, Your Worship. The Council authorized the purchase of land identified under PID 703844631 and situated on Chartersville Road at the cost of $19,000 plus legal fees, and also authorized that this expenditure be defrayed from account number 3370127610 Trailer System General Capital Budget. I so move. Moved by Councillor Cormier, seconded by Councillor Leblanc. For the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary minded, nay. The resolution is adopted as presented. 10.2.3. Jeu de la Francophonie Internationale in 2021. It's a directive adopted on June 22nd last for the municipality of Dieppe. Jointly with the city of Moncton to hold the Jeu de la Francophonie with the province of New-Brunswick so that we can submit our demand. It's for authorization tonight for the reading. Councillor Thibodeau. The council will confirm that no important national or international event would take place in the city of Dieppe during the 9th edition of Jeu de la Francophonie Internationale in 2021, and that council commit a financial contribution in the amount of $750,000, 5% of the total budget of $50 million over a period of 3 years from 2019 to 2021, conditional that the federal and provincial governments each contribute $6 million, 40% of the total budget of $50 million, and that the city of Dieppe contributes $750,000. 5%. You said million, 750 million, but it's $750,000, which is 5% of the total budget of $15 million, and that an amount of $1.5 million, 10% of the total budget of $50 million be anticipated from sponsors and registration fees. I so move. Moved by Councillor Thibodeau and seconded by Councillor Godet. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary-minded, nay. The resolution is adopted as presented. Thank you, Councillor Dieppe. Next section, 10.3.1, Finance. This is a budget transfer for various accounts. There are two elements that need transfer. Firstly, it's the fire hall, the new fire hall. We had estimated the evaluation as the same as the present one, and it was higher, so we need a transfer. We also discussed for a transfer for the patching of designated highways for $38,000 for a total of $114,453. So it's for approval tonight. Thank you. For the resolution, the reading, Councillor Leblanc. Thank you, Your Worship. The Council authorized a budget transfer in the amount of $114,453 as outlined in the budget transfer form dated June 30th, 2015. I so move. Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Cormier on the question. Councillor Béliveau. Thank you, Your Worship. I have two questions. Firstly, what is the value of both our fire halls? The value of our both of our fire halls. The one on Gauvin is a 2.7 million. The satellite fire hall is 4.5. So my other point, I also want to note, Your Worship, that our treasurer signed a memo for consultations, interdepartmental consultations. He was not consulted. So why is that? He signed. He initiated it. That's the contact person. He can't be consulted as well. If he did his job well, that's fine. My only comment, my only concern would be to pay him twice. Oh no, thank you, Your Worship. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary-minded, nay. The resolution is adopted as presented. Next item, 10.4. This is a municipal fleet. We had identified that we wanted to buy a rescue pumper truck. So you see before you a resolution to allow this to McMack Fire and Safety Source Limited for an amount of $698,093 plus HSD. So this is over a period of 2 years. And we're looking for a transfer because these funds are in reserve. And it's accumulating year after year, so we plan acquisitions on this. For the reading of the resolution, Councillor Brideau. Thank you, Your Worship. The Council awards the contract for the purchase of a rescue pumper truck to Micmac Fire and Safety Source Ltd. pursuant to their proposal date June 17, 2015, at the cost of $698,093 plus HST, and authorize that this expenditure be defrayed from account number 1-2-30-50-2570, Emergency Vehicle Replacement Program, General Operating Budget. That Council authorize a budget transfer in the maximum amount of $324,000 from account number 7420128920, General Capital Reserve Fund, to account number 1-2-30-50-2570, Emergency Vehicle Replacement Program, General Operating Budget, over 2 fiscal years, namely an amount of approximately $212,000 in 2015 and the balance in 2016. I so move, Your Worship. Moved by Councillor Prideau, seconded by Councillor Nolan. For the question, Councillor Godet.
What is the expected life cycle of this type of equipment? Different types of vehicles have a different life cycle. For this one, it would be 20 to 25 years, depending on the use, of course, and the condition of the vehicle. Is this the only company that builds these kind of rescue pumper trucks? No, other companies build them as well. We had problems with the vehicles we have currently. We had problems on the body and so on. So that's why this time we want to protect ourselves and make sure that we're not dealing with two different companies, because when that happens, then one blames the other. And I forgot the question. No, they are not the only ones who build these. But this company has two functions. It's a rescue and pumper truck, because in the future we're going to need to replace our rescue truck, and we'd rather have a smaller one rather than a larger one. Because when we see that we only have one bid, one tender, quite often it's because the specs are so specific that there's only one manufacturer who can meet all of the requirements, or that there are other problems that we are not aware of. No. We want to make sure that as a municipality we're protected against liability. I mean, we want to make sure we have proper liability insurance, and I know that some of the smaller companies have trouble getting that kind of assurance, but we want to have this truck for 20, 25 years. We have one now that is that's dates from 1987. It was built here in New Brunswick, but the body has opened up twice, and the second time we weren't able to fix it. The mechanic didn't even want to put it back on the road. So we want to make sure that we have all of the guarantees in place and all of the liability insurance. I don't remember the word in French, I'm sorry, but the liability, we want to have that. And there was another company that had approached us and asked us if we could change the document, but that would have put us at a disadvantage. So no, we didn't want to change them. I told them they were still allowed to bid and, tell us, and they had to show us the evidence that their product was compatible with our requirements and so on. So earlier you mentioned that the body had failed in the past. Was that when it goes over the bumps of Gauvin Street full of water? No, it wasn't that one. It was the other one. So we have two trucks with problems. No, the other one wasn't the frame. It was just bumps and such had caused problems to the frame. But the other one, it was fixed under warranty the first time. The second time, the company didn't want to warranty the work because they said it wasn't their fault. So I had asked them to fix it the first time, but they broke a second time and they didn't want to fix it. One part of the frame was built by one manufacturer, the rest of the truck was built by another, so they were pointing fingers, and that's why we want to deal with one company now and not have two different companies that can point fingers. Yeah, but is it the same company that is building the frame and the rest, the motor, the engine? Yeah, the engine, the frame, the everything comes from the same manufacturer, and the pump. Thank you, Councillor Béliveau. Thank you, Your Worship. Do we have a tentative date for delivery? Well, this kind of truck might take 10 months from the day the order is put in. It comes out in two parts. Oh, we have to pay part of the amount in 2015. We'll check it at the time. And this price includes the price for somebody to go there and test it out, and so all of that is included in this price. So you expect to get it by next spring? I would expect so, yes. Yeah, if all goes well. If there are no further questions, then on the motion, on the resolution, all those in favor will signify by saying aye. Contrary, nay. And it is carried as presented. And now we move on to engineering. Yes, this is a tender award for microsurfacing on Dieppe Boulevard. As you well know, councillors and your worship, we have an annual budget for this kind of activity for the maintenance of our roads. We opened it up to tenders. We had to adjust it to our budgetary envelope, but we do want to increase the life cycle of Dieppe Boulevard. So we have a tender from Industrial Cold Milling, a division of Miller Group, at an estimated cost of $193,367.50 for the microsurfacing that will be done between Lakeburn and Aucoin Avenues. And that's for your approval. Thank you. To read the resolution? Councillor Thibodeau. Thank you, Your Worship. That Council awards the contract for the project entitled Microsurfacing Dieppe Boulevard to the lowest bidder being Industrial Cold Milling, a division of Miller Group, Inc., at the estimated cost of $193,367.50 plus HST, and authorizes that this expenditure to be defrayed from account number 1-2-35-63-2615, asphalt repairs, microsurfacing, general operating budget. And I so move it. It's been moved by Councillor Thibodeau, seconded by Councillor Leblanc. On the question? Councillor Leblanc. Thank you, Your Worship. Could I know what the condition of Dieppe Boulevard is at both ends? The ends where we're doing this microsurfacing? Councillor Leblanc. Mr. Leblanc, sorry. The condition close to Chartersville Boulevard and to Melançon is similar to what it is in the middle? Is that your question? Do we have an estimate for what it would cost to do both ends as well as this section? We'd have to award the contract that had been planned at the very beginning for the whole thing. Oh, we'd have to add another $80,000 or so? I'm just wondering, Your Worship, if we could find a way to find funds in one account or another to do the whole Dieppe Boulevard, because we're going to end up with two cuts in the road at another time. Yeah, we had to do some transfer of funds because of the snow removal, and I mean, it was, it's the amount that had been recommended, but we did get a lot of snow last year, so we're really at the limit of what is available. You didn't find any stockings under the snow? Of course, in order to make up for the $550,000, well, we have to take that amount from somewhere, and we had to sacrifice some of the work that was planned to be done. But if we look at all of the jobs, all of the work that is asphalting work that needs to be done, perhaps it's something that we'll be able to make up sooner rather than later in future years. Councillor Godet. Well, my question was similar, but I've already received comments on this. Why would we choose this section? In your assessment, was it all pretty much the same to do this section here or the other end between Engelhard and Lakeburn? Well, the section between Engelhard and Chartersville was to be repaved altogether. I don't remember if it's next year or the year after. So it's too late now just to do some microsurfacing. And what you're proposing here is not too late then? It can be done? Yes, exactly. Thank you. Councillor Beliveau. Thank you, Your Worship. In the information that was given us, I note that the inspections will be done by engineering services. Is this normal, or is this an exception to the rule? Well, we've only been doing microsurfacing for the last 3 or 4 years only, but we've always done it ourselves. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All those in favor of the resolution will signify by saying aye. Contrary, nay. It's carried as presented. 10.5.2. Yes, this is for the approval of construction costs for the extension of Normandie Street that will go and meet up with Alain Gillette Street, and this would be to approve McDonald Paving and Construction Limited for an estimated amount of $120,000 plus HST for your approval this evening. Thank you. Councillor Cormier? Thank you, Your Worship. That Council approves the construction costs for the Normandie Street Extension Project to McDonald Paving and Construction Limited in the estimated amount of $120,000 plus HST, and authorizes that this budget be defrayed from account number 3-3-35-58-7617, Normandie Street, General Capital Budget. And I so move it, Your Worship. Thank you. It's been moved by Councillor Cormier, seconded by Councillor Nolman on the question. Councillor Godet. Is it possible that Normandie Street be extended past the dead end? Yes, Your Worship. There is a drawing that shows what we're proposing on page 109 of your document. It's the only direction that the street can be extended in, and it's the best. In other words, what you're saying is that there is no possibility that Normandie Street continues on straight. We haven't... Are you talking about my impression? I don't think there was a detailed study done, but we could extend Normandie Street in the same direction it goes right now. That would cross a private lot, parking lot, there's an apartment building there with its parking lot. So yeah, it's possible that a street be built eventually there rather than as is shown here. But the opportunity that we had was to build it the way it's shown here, and it's the shortest of the two options remaining. So in order to join up Normandie and Alain Gillette Streets, this is the best scenario possible, because are the construction norm standards, that little street between the two, does it have a name? Oh, that's Normandie Street. Yeah, that's Normandie Street. Yeah, the cul-de-sac there. As we know it today, that will disappear when we're done. It'll just be a 90-degree turn at the end. But are the construction standards different in that case than the standards for a turnaround, for a dead-end street? No, the thickness of material and so on, that's the same standards, but the section of road that we're going to build is just somewhat narrower than the rest of Normandie Street. Are you going to get rid of the rest of the cul-de-sac, the turnaround? Well, we'll have to remove the asphalt and give the gravel the necessary shape, because the street goes in the wrong direction in the turnaround. So it's where you see it on the drawing, that's where the work will begin. Well, but but it's a shame to break down what already exists, right? Tear it down. Thank you. Are there further questions? If not, all those in favor will signify by saying aye. Contrary, nay. Carried. 10.5.3. expropriation procedures for Acadia Miro project, PID 01009836. And this would authorize staff to commence procedures to expropriate land and also to authorize its legal counsel to undertake the necessary procedures and to authorize its employees, agents to enter upon the land and premises. And this for your approval here this evening. To read the resolution, Councillor Leblanc. Thank you, Your Worship. That Council authorizes city staff to commence procedures to expropriate the land identified under PID 01009836, situated at Chartersville March in the city of Dieppe in the county of Westmoreland and province of New Brunswick, for the realization of construction work for the Acadie Avenue Amiro Street Improvement Project. Authorizes its legal counsel, McIntyre Finn, to undertake the necessary procedures and that all required approvals from City Council be coordinated through the municipal clerk. Authorizes its employees and or its agents to enter upon the land and premises having PID 01009836 situated at Chartersville Marge in the city of Dieppe in the county of Westmoreland and province of New Brunswick, to ascertain the suitability of the land for the purpose for which the expropriation, in whole or in part, is required, and may make surveys, take levels, and make such borings, sink suck trial pits, or conduct such other tests as are necessary to ascertain the suitability of the land. And I so move it, Your Worship. Thank you. It's moved by Councillor Leblanc, seconded by Councillor Brideau on the question. Councillor Béliveau. Yes, in the information that we got, it said that there was a possibility of a land exchange if we wanted to use this land for a trail, for example, and then in exchange, or in rereading this, well, there's a land that at the southern side of Surette Street that was the site of a landfill. Or was it a marsh land that was filled? It wasn't landfilled, it was just filled. It was, yes, it was a marshland that was filled. And when did that happen? Well, this is from personal observations, but I believe it was done at the same time as the raceway was abandoned. These were materials that were removed from the raceway that was pushed into this marsh area. So what would that be, 15, 20 years ago? That's when the fire hall was built? Oh, I think it's closer to 30 years ago. 30 years ago? Yeah, 25 to 30 years ago. Thank you. Thank you. If there are no further questions, all those in favor of the resolution will indicate by saying aye. Contrary-minded, nay. It's carried. We're now at 10.6.1. Yes, this is for the appointment of Mr. Chanel Michaud to the Greater Moncton Sewerage Commission for an additional term ending September 1st, 2019. To read the resolution, Councillor Thibodeau. Thank you, Your Worship. That Council appoints Chanel Michaud on the Greater Moncton Sewerage Commission for an additional term ending September 1st, 2019, and I so move it, Your Worship. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Thibodeau, seconded by Councillor Gaudette on the question. All those in favor will signify by saying aye. Contrary, nay. Thank you, Mr. Michaud, for continuing the excellent job you're doing. 10.6.2, appointment of a bylaw enforcement officer. Yes, Madame Stacy Lozier has arrived as a new bylaw enforcement officer, and she needs, of course, the authorization necessary to be able to do her work. And so this would give her the designation as the municipality's bylaws and the Community Planning Act allow. So this is for your approval, Your Worship. Thank you. Who would like to read the resolution? Councillor Nolan. Thank you. That pursuant to the Community Planning Act, the Municipalities Act, and the Police Act, Dieppe City Council appoints Stacy Lossier as bylaw enforcement officer and be authorized, designated, and appointed to act for and on council's behalf in, and there's a typo in French, but for and on council's behalf in order to properly enforce the municipal bylaws, and that the said appointment continues as long as the said person remains employed with the municipality, or that the appointment is limited or rescinded by council, and I so move it. It's been moved and seconded on the question.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary minded, nay. Welcome on board, Ms. Lozier. Planning and development. We have, for a while now, we've done a study of Emmett Foster Wheeler, which was presented to the public a few meetings ago. So tonight we ask Council to adopt it so that this document be our reference point for work done for our internal committee who's developing work plans, recommendations, and an action plan. So this is for approval for this report to be able to continue the work. And for before September. Councillor Gannett, please. Now that the levels are are better with the. I will read this. The Council adopt the report entitled Flood Protection Approach concerning climate change, dated April 16, 2015, submitted by A. McFoster Wheeler, moved by Councillor Godet, seconded by Councillor Dadar. For the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary minded, nay. The resolution 10.7.1 is accepted. No bylaws tonight. Any notices of motion? No. Then we will proceed to your 4 minutes of questions, and we will start to my right. Councillor Leblanc, good evening. Good evening, Your Worship. I have nothing to announce this evening. Thank you. Councillor Brideau. Thank you, Your Worship. I would just like to bring forward a point for people who have pets, little dogs that they walk along the sides of the street. I would like to ask them to pick up after them in little green bags. What your little puppy leaves there. Because it's happened to me often. I have received comments in the neighborhood that it's a problem. So I would ask people for a little bit of respect by dog owners to pick up and to bring them in your garbage as well, but not to leave them on the side of the street because there's nobody there to pick them up. So a little bit of respect for everyone, please, and I wish everybody a happy summer. Thank you. Councillor Nolan. Your Worship, as Councillor Brideau, now that summer has started, I would like to wish them all a very happy summer. Councillor Delao, thank you. I have nothing to mention this evening. Councillor Godet. I have a few comments on the pets that take our trails, and my complaint is that a lot of the garbage that is picked up is not taken to the right container. So I think with our services, perhaps we could make these containers closer and better identify them and maybe more inviting for people to use them. I would like to mention as well that these are Acadian Days in Grand Prix next week, and I want to congratulate Unité Pastorale Marie-Anne d'Acadie, which comprises all the three parishes in Dieppe, and I want to thank Director Valmont Book and the choir, Sainte Thérèse, who will be performing in Grand Prix at the Mass, and a concert that we have invited them to play in the afternoon. The bus is full, but private vehicles are invited to take this 3-hour trip to go to Grand Prix next Sunday on the 19th. On the 18th in Grand Prix, we have 4 conferences with a historical interest. There was another point as well. I wanted to speak of heritage buildings, but which I spoke of a bit earlier. I thank you. I have a question for Mr. Leblanc, the Director of Public Works or Engineering. Go ahead. The use of land and other appropriate materials for municipal used for projects for the municipality. Are we using them in a very good way? All the earth that we remove from the holes, all the earth that can be used by the municipality will be used on municipal properties. We have the Amiro Acadie project. We're taking a lot of material out that can't be used for anybody. Those are the contractors that are taking care of it on sites which they have found. We identified a site where there's a lot of material going into. Is it appropriate to say where this site is? It's on Benjamin Street. The city installed a canal to put this in. I think there is 6 meters of dirt to filling to put on top of it. So that's what we're doing. Is that the site I spoke of at the last meeting? Yes, at the end of the pipe there? Yes, thank you. Councillor Cormier, thank you, Your Worship. I have nothing to add. Councillor Thibodeau, thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to wish happy birthday to Prise la Bastille to all the French tomorrow. They're coming to celebrate here at the Arts and Culture Center tomorrow, and we will be very happy to welcome them. Thank you. Councillor Béliveau, thank you, Your Worship. My question is that I would like to know the standards that apply for the solid lines on our streets. When you go into an exit, for example, on Kennedy going towards Moncton on Paul Street, people that are coming out of this exit to go onto Paul Street, onto Louisville Road, the line is solid for a point. Is there a standard? Because some are longer than others in the municipality. But I'm talking of the one on Champlain. When you take Acadie, that line is recent, it's solid, and it seems to be longer than the one that's on Kennedy when you get onto Paul Street towards the overpass and the highway. Are there standards, 10 meters, 15 meters, 20 meters? And I bring this point up again as perhaps we could cooperate, because people must people must understand this for people that are turning right. Those people that are turning left are not supposed to get in this lane right away. So the question is the following: it's the length. Is there a minimal length necessary? I think both. How much time do I have? I have a lot. So the short answer is there are standards that help us with the design of this. In each case, there's an engineer that does the design, and it's a case by case. So when there's a solid line, you are not supposed to cross it with your car. So you say it varies upon the circumstances and where the exit is, and the speed of the traffic, other factors as well. Thank you. Thank you. So I will end this evening by congratulating Dental Clinic Champlain and Institut Figura for the construction of a new building. And the developer of the park, Mr. Foulim, is developing the downtown, and congratulate as well all these businesses for the continuing development of our downtown, Champlain and the Marché Street. So I wish you all a very good evening, and remember that the next meeting of council, it'll be the second Tuesday of August 10th, and during the summer we start a bit earlier at 6 p.m. So good evening.